Wisconsin Hospital Association, Quick Trip, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, and Wisconsin Operating Engineers Local 139.
State Representative Paul Tittl of Manitowoc is a Republican seeking re-election in the 28th Assembly District. Paul, welcome back to WisconsinEye.
I hate to correct you, but it's the 25th.
Hey, I'm sorry. Paul Tittl is my 25th district. I had it wrong in my notes.
Yep.
Okay, seeking re-election in the 25th Assembly District. Thanks for the correction, my friend.
No
Welcome
problem.
back. Welcome back. Hey, if you're re-elected, what's your top priority in the next session, sir?
I have this passion of working and want to get better mental health for the people of the state of Wisconsin. And with that, I guess that's going to be my number one thing, is to get more people the services. Just talking with somebody the other day, they were talking to me about they were having a crisis and they weren't able to get in to see a psychiatrist for well over a month. Now, if you're having a crisis, I guess people don't understand that, is that a mental health crisis it can be very serious. And, we don't if somebody's having a heart attack, we don't make them wait a month and say, oh, you just come back and we'll see what we can do for you. It's like, and it can be as serious as a heart attack. And I think, I still want to turn the mental health into a casserole disease. And what I mean by that, Steve, is that, a couple of years ago, I had both my hips replaced. I had a back surgery last year. I had some wonderful friends from my church that brought over meals and brought over soup and a lasagna and everything like that for me. And because I was in a health crisis. Well, nobody does that we don't do that to our people and friends that are affected with mental health. So I want to turn it into the casserole disease. In other words, so that we embrace people. We want to lower the stigma of mental health. And I think that is part of the job ever since serving on the Speaker's Task Force for Mental Health.
Well, the pandemic has certainly not helped the mental health of residents of the 25th, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think the pandemic is exemplified. There's even more people that would have not normally had mental health crisis. I talked to a lady just the other day, and she was telling me how she can't visit her husband in the nursing home, and he has dementia, and it's just breaking her heart. I mean, and she was in tears talking to me on the phone the other day.
Well, where are you though on the governor's, number one, the mask order, and now the 25% occupancy limits? I mean, do you support those, sir?
Well, I wear a mask wherever I go. I'm not going to wear a mask while I'm talking to you on a video conference, like some people have said. You should be wearing a mask all the time. It's like, well, I also believe in some freedom. If my business, say for example, or Menards or Costco or whatever, if they end up talking or telling me that I need to wear a mask, I'm going to wear it. And I think there should be some freedom allowed. On the 25% order, I'm very concerned for people's livelihoods. We're talking about from people that are suffering, that aren't making a lot of money. Some of these are minimum wage plus tip jobs. And I'm very concerned for the businesses in the hospitality industry. And that's a big part of our business structure in the state of Wisconsin. We have a huge tourism business, billions of dollars every year.
Have you signed on to Representative Bourne's bill, which says that if an organization, even a charity or a nonprofit, follows COVID-19 protocols, they couldn't be sued over COVID-19? Are you on that bill? I'm
not 100% sure. I think I am on that bill.
Okay.
And I do believe in protections of liability for COVID, especially if you're following the guidelines. I mean, you're doing exactly what the professionals are telling us to do.
We've got more than 900 people now hospitalized in Wisconsin with COVID. Do hospitals in the next state budget deserve to be an even greater priority than they might be in the current budget, Paul?
Well, I think we have to. They were also shut down during that order because they weren't doing a lot of the surgeries, and they weren't doing a lot of the knee replacements, the hip replacements, stuff that could possibly be put off until another time. They have lost, I would guess hundreds of millions of dollars at the hospitals in the state of Wisconsin, and I believe that it is our job to possibly help them in some way possible. I'm not sure exactly how or a dollar amount, but I think we absolutely should.
All the debate nationally and even in Kenosha over policing reforms. I mean, the speaker's going to form a task force. The governor's got 9 bills. Senator Van Wanggaard had his own bills, the Black Caucus. Are there any policing reforms that you feel should be enacted into law?
During this COVID crisis and before, I actually went on a ride along with my sheriff's department. Then just yesterday, in preparing for this interview, I called a guy that trains most of the police officers for their job. And I asked him about, I was like, do you train chokeholds and stuff like that? And he goes, listen, he says, Paul, I follow the standards that are put out by the Department of Justice. This is Josh Call's Department of Justice. And we have standards and training that we actually have to follow when we're training our police officers right now. He said, and we're following that. We don't train people to do chokeholds. We don't train them. He says, if they want to get trained in that, he says, that would have to be something completely separate. They would actually, in fact, they don't even come around to the police departments and do any of that training like this. They would literally have to take a week off, go spend a week in training, some other city, spend time in a hotel on their own dime. I don't believe that a lot of officers are doing that. We have a great police force around here, and I support them. In fact, if you looked in my yard right now, Steve, the only sign in my yard is I back the badge.
I see. Okay.
Not even my sign.
Hey, the Federal Reserve within the last 10 days reported that Wisconsin's gross domestic product fell by 8% in the second quarter. I'll make up a number, if we don't collect $1 billion in GPR tax collections, what would be your approach to solving that shortfall?
I think we have to look at spending. We absolutely have to look at spending and being responsible to the taxpayers. I don't think we should add a tax increase that would be another crisis we would be heaping upon the COVID crisis to the people of the state of Wisconsin. We are still one of the highest tax states in our nation. And overall, the tax burden on Wisconsinites, it's pretty high.
Okay. The Governor's Maps Commission, People's Maps Commission, has held its first meeting. Who in district lines, Paul?
Well, basically, this is going to be a totally different drawing of lines that never has done before. I don't believe in Wisconsin. Maybe they have. But, we have a Republican legislature and we have a Democratic governor. We are going to have to get together and draw them maps together because if we pass something, the governor will veto it. We don't have enough to override a veto. We're going to have to work together. So how we work together, that's not for me to say. I would love to be on that and help to draw the lines, but I will tell you that we are going to get it done, and it's going to be done fairly, or the governor will not sign it.
This is an issue that's been around a long time, but as more and more states around Wisconsin legalize both medical and recreational marijuana, tell me again your position on both of those.
Well, I haven't come so far as to support recreational, but I was one of the legislators that brought forth a medical marijuana bill last session. And I believe that we can look at that. I've talked to a lot of people. In fact, when I've been out on the doors, Republicans and Democrats alike are saying, you know what, you guys should be doing something for medicinal marijuana because it does have some benefits. One gentleman was telling me, he said, he got it for his father. And this is in Wisconsin, by the way. His father was having cancer, having problems, had a lot of pain, and also some nausea and some lack of appetite. It helped him. It helped him, and it made him comfortable towards the end of his life. He told me his father had passed away. So I think there is some medicinal values. We have to look at that. We have to vet that whole process because I don't think it's been properly vetted.
Okay. Let's talk about property taxes. We're a high property tax state, which is why for more than 20 years, schools and local governments have been living with caps and limits on property taxes. Mm-hmm. You're voting on the next budget. Should those caps and limits on property tax levies stay in place?
Well, some of the, in my area, it's very interesting. We have County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer, my predecessor, and Justin Nichols, which is head of the League of Municipalities right now. And both of them are coming forth with a budget that is not even going up to the cap. And so I think, I don't know that we need to move the caps because a lot of governments are being very responsible. I think Bob Ziegelbauer has had a 1% increase in taxes over 10 years, maybe. And Mayor Nichols is doing a great job. He does a great job as far as keeping our taxes low. I think he's going to come up with 1.1% or 1.5% this next budget. He kind of let it out. And so I think, we are being responsible. Raise the caps when they aren't even going up to the caps. I'm not sure.
When leaders of cities, villages, and towns say, please consider giving us alternative revenue sources. Representative Goyke has a bill. If Milwaukee voters passed a referendum, Milwaukee could levy a 0.5-cent sales tax. Do we need to consider giving local governments new revenue options so they're not so reliant on the property tax?
Well, recently I got my renewal for my car, and there are some avenues that they can actually raise revenue. They've done it in Manitowoc through the wheel tax. So they've done a wheel tax. And that our county, Manitowoc County, is one of only a handful of counties that literally does not have a 0.5% county sales tax either. So we're living without it. I don't know that, again, we talk about how the tax burden is even higher in Wisconsin. Now we're saying, okay, we want to make that burden even more so. And it's going to affect the people that live there. It's not going to just affect tourism, but it will affect all the people that live there. And you say, well, 0.5% doesn't sound like much. Well, do the math on what you spend in a year. It can add up very heavily.
The governor last year recommended raising our gas tax. Our gas tax is 30.9 cents per gallon, hasn't been raised in 10 or 12 years. He proposed that to have a stable source of funding for highways and bridges. Could you vote to raise the gas tax?
I think, I think we should probably look at that again, because I think that could actually raise some revenue for roads. We have a road problem here in Wisconsin, and I think we need to look at how we fund that. And I was one of them in my caucus that I didn't like that raise in the registration fee. I didn't like that. I liked the idea of, because we have, I think, a $5 billion tourism industry in the state of Wisconsin. None of them people are going home or wait until they get home to get to fill up their gas tanks. They have to fill them up here. And I think we're missing the boat on some of that, because we have a good tourist industry minus this year. So we actually could be capturing some out-of-state dollars through a little bit better or a little bit higher gas tax. I'm not talking about astronomical, but I hate to see if we would have to start raising it now when you're talking maybe in the, when gas goes up. Right now it's, $1.95 a gallon right now as of today. So I think that would be a time when you can possibly look at it and people will swallow it a little bit better.
If a school district or a local government plans a major public works project, should they have to consider Wisconsin businesses, the bids of businesses that from our state, or give a preference?
Well, around here, we just had Waldo Boulevard redone, which is Highway 10 going east into Manitowoc. It's the main thoroughfare. We had a local construction company did it by the bidding process, the low bid, and that was Vinton Construction. They do just phenomenal work. And I think one of the things that is a misnomer out there is that there's a lot of out-of-state money that is being spent. Not around in my area, there isn't, because I think it's mostly done. The city of Manitowoc's building new restrooms down by the marina. They used a local contractor, Ace Building Service, another great employer in our area. I think it is a problem if you start dictating that you're going to automatically give it to somebody that is in-state versus out-of-state.
And last question, differences between you and your opponent on November 3?
Well, I think the biggest difference is I will work across the lines. Do you know that, Steve, under Governor Walker, 90% of the bills that were passed under Governor Walker were actually passed on a bipartisan way. Under Governor Evers, now we have a Democratic governor, over 94% of the bills passed were worked on a bipartisan. My opponent keeps saying I'm just another speaking piece for Robin Voss. Well, I wish he would get in on maybe some of my conversations with Robin and Jim Steinecke and realize that I fight back. I push back a lot for the people of the 25th district. And I would tell you that I love my job. I get to help people. I get to be an advocate for them in Madison. We've helped a lot of people in Madison that are going through this COVID crisis with unemployment benefits. That has been a total disaster. And we are there working constantly to try to help people. I am a local businessman. I've been in business now for over 30 years. And I understand what it takes to run a business. And so that I humbly ask for the people of the 25th District to vote for Paul Tittl on November 3rd.
Paul, just a quick follow-up. You're aware the Democrats are now out with press releases saying your party hasn't passed a bill in 170 days. Mm-hmm. I just want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, this COVID thing is been horrible. And this is probably not anything that anybody planned or wanted to do. Even though I have rheumatoid arthritis, I have asthma, I was down and passed the COVID relief bills that we passed in Madison. I said, I want to be there. I want to be there for the people that have the comorbidities. And I will tell you that we've been still working very hard to try to make people's lives even easier. And it's been an unusually weird year. And with that, I'm just hoping that we get through it soon.
Okay, thanks very much. State Representative Paul Tittl of Manitowoc is a Republican seeking re-election in the 25th Assembly District. Did I get it right that time?
You got it right.
All right. Paul, thanks very much for talking to WisconsinEye.
All right. Thanks, Steve. You have
a good, safe day. Thank you.
Campaign 2020 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Quick Trip, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, and Wisconsin Operating Engineers Local 139.